Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the best part of our week. Thank you for hanging out with us in the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets, coming to you as always with my colleague, Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck, man, I know you're enjoying these cooler weather in the morning, these cooler days. How's it going in North Mississippi?
It is beautiful. Let me tell you, there's nothing better than wearing a sweater in the morning, a pullover, a long sleeve. I'm not bundling up yet, but it's perfect because you can come out of it and be comfortable after lunch. It's perfect. It's what fall and football weather should be. And in North Mississippi, and I know in West Tennessee for you, it's the same. You don't get what we call football weather until November. And here we are, almost November.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I got a quarter zip on today. Maggie and I broke out the little mini solo stove this week and did some s'mores over it after talking about them on the daily grind. It was all I could think about, so I had to make some s'mores. But yeah, I had a quarter zip and a vest on this morning. Vest has already come off. It's like, this is like God's time of the year when it's just when life was meant to be lived is when it's like 40 degrees in the morning and like upper 60s by the end of the day. Like chef's kiss, like perfect weather time.
To me, it's like looking out and seeing a frost is one of the prettiest sights for me. Like I love just looking out and seeing a frost. Now I lose all interest in it once the windshield starts freezing, but I love a good morning frost.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's hard to beat seeing that good crispy grass. You got your coffee, you're looking out and grass just looks crunchy. You let the dogs out and they're steaming when they breathe a little bit. It's life's pretty good right now. I got a hoodie on. It's nice.
And maybe TMI, we grew up in the country. Everybody knows what you first thought that goes through your head when you see ice. It's like, I want to go pee on that.
That's accurate from where we come from. Absolutely. So breaking out the flannel pants this week might have been the best part of my week just because it's been perfect.
Yeah. So, man, glad. Thank you guys for joining us this Friday. It's beautiful outside, and we're happy to be inside for a few minutes to record this show for you guys. And so we're going to start this show off the way we start every Two Buck Sports Show. We're best friends. We've been best friends for over 10 years, been through a lot together. And so because of our busy schedules and everything, we don't catch up as much as we want to. So just for me to Rusty, Rusty to me, and for us to everybody, just what's the best thing that happened to you this week?
Oh, man. I got to give a shout out to UAB and the care they took of my mama last week. All of y'all that know me and know kind of what I've been going through over the last couple of months. And one of the main reasons I transitioned back to the Mid-South was my parents' health. And mama's got Parkinson's, for those of you who don't know. And we were in UAB last week for them to do put in a deep brain stimulator. And I could nerd out on that because of what I do for a living, but I'm not. All you fine people need to know is that the surgery was a success. In surgery, she had no tremor whatsoever and just was all emotional about it in recovery. Somebody was cutting onions, my eyes started misting a little bit. But Mama Lee was very excited about it. And everybody from the doctors to the nurses to the parking staff to the, diet nutrition, everybody was so friendly and kind to us and really took good care of us for the week we were down there. So Mama Lee's on the mend. We go back on November the 6th for them to actually program the unit. And after that, she will have no more tremors, stiffness, or balance issues that she's been having. So just all is well in the Witten house in Corinth, man. Just so stoked for Mama Lee, and thankful it was a success.
Yeah, that's so, I could just take that as my own best of the week as well, because that's so exciting. I remember when you got the news and shared it with us, it's devastating to hear something like that, because when you think of Parkinson's, what do you think of? You think of Muhammad Ali or Michael J. Fox, and it's just it's just a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And for Mama Lee, who is young and not just young in age, but young in here, she's just mentally young, dancing and cutting up and having a good time with her grandkids. Oh man, it's just it was a nightmare. And so to hear the progress it's made, that you guys went ahead and did this, and that she has seen all these tremors that will go away, is man, that's the best, man. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely the best.
Yeah.
So happy for her. Happy for her. Happy for the grandkids. Happy for you and Clark. Yeah. I mean, that's great. So My best of the week, like we finished travel ball this weekend. It was our last tournament. Did not have any results that we were really proud of, but we had a good time. And man, it was just so fun to see. Like, we played park league ball, but it was always a dream of mine to have a son that would enjoy ball like the way I did growing up. Like, it's just fun. Even as an adult, as a father, it's just like I've always dreamt of like having a kid to throw ball with. And man, he just like blossomed in this year. And the team was not very good. They went up against some really, I mean, travel ball. If you start playing, a lot of these teams start playing like 5 years old. So as first players, like 7 and 8 year olds, like we didn't stand much of a chance. But I could tell just him in particular, just grew to love it. He went from like, just playing to play to like wanting to come out here and like talking about things that he can do to get better. And so like, we're in.
That's
it's
fun.
so much fun. We had so much fun going to these tournaments. Excited for the spring, just to kind of dive in and just see what it brings and see what he does. He's a lefty, so I'm like, all right, we got to get him a first baseman's mitt. His coach is like, hey, get him in first base, like get him trained. And I was like, all right, that's what we're doing. We're getting trained this winter. Buckle up, buddy. You're gonna learn how to catch. So it was great, man. So glad it's over, because Sunday was one of the best days of the week for us, because we just finally got to sit down and like relax as a family. We all took naps. It was perfect. And so looking forward to that going forward, but ready for baseball season to come back in the spring. So
yeah, that's awesome. It's fun. Real quick, it's fun to see like when the next generation falls in love with the sport like we did. So I know BB was having fun just hearing y'all talk about it. So glad that he fell in love with the sport like we did growing up.
Yeah, and everybody kind of grops about the younger generations, like, oh, they're instant gratification, they have short time attention spans, and all that's true. But baseball is one of those games that kind of feel like takes you away from that, because it is a slower paced game. It is a detail oriented game. And so I look forward to being able to like increase that attention, like see that kind of develop. And it's even like it's postseason baseball time. So nothing's on, man. We're turning a baseball game on, and I'm just like pausing it, like, hey, you see how this first baseman's doing this? Hey, you see this? Yeah. And he's just like soaking it up, man. I love it. That's awesome. So it's great. But as you know, physics. I took a lot of physics in school. I'm an engineer. Physics says what goes up must come down. So Rusty, I'm going to save mine for in a minute. But what's the worst thing that happened to you this week?
I had to spend last week with little dogs. And what I'm learning, man, like my roommate has got a small dog. My mom has a Yorkie. My aunts have like a little Yorkie. Like, they just, they're yappy. They poop in the floor every chance they get. Like, you'll take them out and they'll come right back in and poop and pee in the floor. And I'm sure there are big dogs that do that, but all the big dogs in my life that I'm around don't typically do that. And so like, I guess my beef of the week is, why on earth would you want one of those little yappy ankle biter dogs? They're going to bark at everything. It's going to pee on everything. It's going to poop everywhere. Like, they literally, like, what is it Ron Swanson says? Any dog under 30 pounds is basically a cat, and cats are worthless. Like, that's where I'm at, man. My
Any dog under 50 pounds, or cat is a cat, and cats are worthless. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, I'm over small dogs. Like, if you got a small dog, don't invite me over. Like, I'm just like, I'm over them, man. They're just like, I love dogs. I love big dogs.
Yes.
Like, give me all the big dogs. The bigger, the better. But if you got a small dog, I'm probably not coming to your cookout.
I just can't handle the noise that a small dog, like Ted, will bark occasionally. He's not a loud dog by any means, but if he barks, it's like it gets your attention, but it's like not shrill and like it's like sticking a needle in your neck every time that one of them little bitty dogs, and they are harder to potty train. My dad made my mom give away a puppy one time because it took too long to potty train. This little Yorkie, he was like, I'm sick of it. Get another one. Like,
I mean, that's it. Like, you never really get them fully potty trained. Like, and barking, I can tolerate. I want to bark in the background right now. Like, I can tolerate barking. But like, it's the constant barking, and it's just the never getting fully potty trained. Like, I can't.
And I'm with you. Like, I won't go over to somebody's house. Their dog's going to yap the whole time. I won't do it.
Nope.
Speaking of dogs, I've got a worst of the week, and it's one of the worst of the weeks of this show. Sunday, we go to my parents' house, or going to go to my parents' house, and we're going to take Ted with us. Mascot of the podcast, my 100-pound Bernedoodle, who is just the best dog in the world, is going to go with with us to my mom's house. And so he goes and gets in the van, but the third row was down in the van. The third row stows away into the trunk. So when you set it back up, it actually goes forward into the cab, and the forks lock into a little D-ring mounted to the floor. And he was sitting in the back seat of the van when my wife goes to set the van seats up, and his tail is on that D-ring, gets pinned, and he just freaks out. And poor Ted lost about 1.5 to 2 inches of his tail in that accident. And it was traumatic. We've got the bucket seat set up. So I've got a 7-month-old over here, and I've got a 2-year-old over here. And Ted is just trying to get out. So he climbs in both car seats, just freaking out. And everybody's crying and screaming. And finally, I had to go and just jump in, grab him by the collar. And we just rolled out of the van. I've tripped over a concrete flower pot, scraped my legs up. Like, it was awful. So I took him to the vet on Monday, and he had to actually have 2 more inches past where the damage was amputated. And so we're dealing with a short tail Bernedoodle right now. And it just stinks. And I was telling Rusty, I was like, I wasn't really a dog parent. We had dogs growing up. Most of the time they were outside, and none of them were like solely my responsibility. But this is our family dog. It's different. And like, I used to say like, oh, dog owner, like I worked at a vet's office one time. Funny story. There was a guy whose dog, he didn't want his dog to feel emasculated once he got neutered. So he had steel testicles put in. And so every time he ran, you hear ding, 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 ding. And he was just like, oh, well, my dog feel emasculated around other dogs. And I was like, that's stupid. But now it's my dog. And I'm just like, oh, poor dog. I'll do anything. Take my leg, whatever, And so it's been rough around the Gann house because he's got one of those huge halos on his head. Yeah, the collars. And we've got to keep him in his crate a lot because he can't get too excited and wag that tail or the stitches comes out. Like, it's awful, man. Yeah. I feel so bad. It's just really put us in the dump Sunday night. And Monday, as we're just kind of waiting for the vet to call to tell us he's out of surgery, we can come get him. And now he's back because he's having to get some more stitches put in because he busted a couple of them. So, T's and P's for the for Pro Ted. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pro Ted is just he's going through it right now. And I told my wife because she feels awful about it. And I told her like it's not her fault. It could have happened to any of us. But I was like, if this is the worst thing that happens to poor old Ted and he lives 13 to 15 years, like he's lived a good life,
Lived a good life. God bless him. But I've been there. I had that happen to a German Shepherd. It's the most awful feeling. I'm holding this 100-pound German Shepherd, holding the tail in my hand. Blood's going everywhere. Like, but like you said, even though it's not my dog, like I was the same way. I was texting you, how's Ted? Any word? Because like dogs just have a special place. We went through it with Maggie's dog, Boone, like what he's been going through. And like anytime, like we were talking about it, like, anytime it's a dog, like it's just a different level of hurt when they're sick or hurting, man.
And tell you, it's so crazy. Like last weekend, I was texting you about your mom. You were texting me about my dog this weekend. So
it's life, man. That's how it goes. Yeah. The Bucs.
I'm not going to say it's equal, but it is. It is hospital visits.
It is hospital visits, but. Speaking of going through it, I think we can all agree that the Memphis Grizzlies continue to go through it with injuries. It feels like every time we turn around, man, there has been a new injury for the Memphis Grizzlies. We had first it was Gigi, then it was Vince, then it was Jaren, then it was Ja. Now it's Luke. It just feels like every time we turn around, somebody's getting banged up. But Drew, I don't know that it necessarily changes my outlook for the season. Like, I still think, even with all these injuries, we know John and Jaren are going to be back open tonight. Luke seems like he's going to miss a little bit of time. What we've seen so far in the preseason tells me we're going to be okay. I think, what we've seen, and I'll kind of cue you up with this, like, what we've seen from Zack Edey is going to feed families this year. Like, if he can go out and get 15 and 10 every single night, like that's A, rookie of the year. B, that's going to vault us into one of the top teams in half-court basketball. And these Memphis Grizzlies are going to make a deep run into May and June next year.
Yeah. So I was going to see if I could find so DeMichael Cole, regarding the Luke Kennard injury, says is dealing with some foot soreness, no timeline, but Taylor Jenkins says he may miss some time. So that's about as vague as it gets. When you say foot soreness, I'm like, okay, he'll be fine. It doesn't read as if there's structural damage. It doesn't read as if there's like severe ligament damage. It just seems, they said sore. Maybe they're downplaying it. I don't know. But I'm kind of with you. Like, last season and pretty much every season, it seems like we start this season and we're missing like a starter. Jaren Jackson Jr. has missed, a month going into a season, or you could go on and on. Steven Adams, just like you're injured going into the season and it's a starter. Your starting rotation is going to be good for opening night. That's been said. It was even reported, I believe it was DeMichael Cole with a commercial appeal again, that said they're not even ruling out Ja and Jaren for the last preseason game. So that makes me think that your starting five is going to be totally healthy and good to go on October 23rd when they play the Jazz in Utah. So that's good. You're starting from a good spot there. The downside is one of the strengths of this team that we've talked about going forward or looking into the season is that you've got depth. And that's where we've really taken a toll here. You've got Gigi and Luke and Vince and Cam Spencer even that are down going into the season. So you're 2 and 3 deep there, if you're talking about football terms, did take a shot. And so you look at that point going into the season, you look at like the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter, end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, when you typically see a lot of bench rotations. Can you hold your own at that point? And that'll be interesting to see kind of how they, in the last preseason game, how they do those rotations going into the start of the season. Can the bench unit without those 3 guys, because I'm not really including Cam Spencer in that right now, can those 3 guys being out, can the bench unit still keep you in it? Not be a massive negative.
I think one thing that's going to go a long way, and take a victory lap if you want to, is the signing of Scottie Pippen Jr. He's going to add depth to that bench. He can be that backup one that's going to be able to spell Marcus and Dez, and they not have to back up, Ja as much now that, especially now that Luke is going to be out for however long he's going to be out. Signing Pip now, leaving that open roster spot, we still got one more. Again, if this had been, the last roster spot, that's one thing, but this was the 14th of 15 roster spots. I think it's a good move, especially given health now that Luke has gotten hurt. I think like your first 3 guys off the bench are very likely now going to be Scottie Pippen Jr., Jaylen Wells, and Brandon Clark. And if those 3 guys can come in and continue what they've done in the past, Jaylen's a rookie, but what we've seen so far in the preseason is 2 things. He's a shooter and he can defend. And like, if he can do those 2 things at a high level, we're going to be fine. BC, he's not dunking as much as he used to. He's on record saying, hey, you're going to see a lot more of those floaters. Like, I need to take care of my body now that I'm deeper in my career. Personally, I love that. That little turnaround floater in the middle of the lane, or that little driving floater it's Mike Conley-esque. And we know Mike Conley made a career off that little floater. And so if BC can continue that, and then Pip can stop turning the dadgum ball over and be what he was in Summer League and last year, I think we're going to be just fine, and then only get better when Luke and Vince and Gigi come back. It sucks that we're having injuries, but we're in a place we haven't. We're plowing new ground here. I'm not as upset about our depth as I would have been 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I still feel like the depth is there. I wasn't. I do want to talk about Scottie Pippen in that contract, but when you're talking about, like, I expected him to be in the rotation. What is eye-popping to me, as when you're talking about new toys, is Jaylen Wells, and he has stood out in the preseason games. I know it's preseason, whatever. He's getting playing time against NBA players, and he's looked really good. He's looked really active for a player that virtually had no steals and no deflections on defense last year at Washington State. He's in the mix, and he's just in the way, and that's one of the best qualities you can have in the NBA. It's one of my favorite qualities. That's why I love Tony Allen and DeAnthony Melton. It was just havoc, It's like they were always just in the way. So I hope that that Jaylen Wells gets a little bit of that tenacity and just as a pest on defense. And so I dig it. I do love the Scottie Pippen signing. I think it was a no-brainer. I thought it was a no-brainer. I thought it was something that he deserved more than it was a no-brainer when we were talking about the 15th roster spot. Just because he is going to be in your top 8 to 9 guys, and you want those guys to be taken care of. And then when Derrick Rose retired, then it was like a must. Like it was just going to happen. I didn't see a situation where they waited late into the year to sign him just because you've got to have 14. You don't have to have 15, but you got to have 14. You're not just going to go sign somebody off the street and leave Scottie Pippen Jr. as a two-way guy. And so I love it. He's making virtually the same money Derrick Rose made. So you're telling me we swapped Derrick Rose for Scottie Pippen Jr. and that's great. Absolutely great.
You can take it like just about any combination of 3 of our young bench players, and they're not making the MLE. Like we've got, I think, 4 or 5 guys under the MLE on like young rookie deals and good contracts. This is a great contract. It's 2 years guaranteed. 3rd year is partially guaranteed, and the 4th year is a team option. So it's descending, which is going to help because we got to pay Jaren coming up, and we're going to pay Edey when that comes up. Like there's contracts that are going to be coming on the horizon. It's a very team friendly deal that maxes out around $3 million or in some change a year.
I think
it's not bad.
It's great, man, because I talked about this on the Daily Grind on Wednesday, but I've talked about it a lot. But the front office deserves a ton of credit for this because when you start having superstars, which the Grizzlies have, they've got 3 of them that deserve a max contract, and they all have, or as soon as Jaren gets his extension, they will all have a max contract. And what that does is it puts such a pinch on your depth. And for them to be able to take second-round picks like Jaylen Wells and the second-round pick like Vince Williams Jr., G.G. Jackson, they're hitting on all of them. They're hitting at a better rate on their second-round picks than they are their first-round picks.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great, man. I think Zach Kleiman and whoever their scouting department is, their development department, I mean, just they come up aces all the time. And it is such a luxury. Not a luxury. It's a necessity when you start having your frontline guys make as much money as Ja, Desmond, and Jaren are going to be making.
I mean, the people are saying that we're right up there with the Heat in developing players. And I agree because we're able to pull some of these guys like a Brandon Clark that was a second round, like these guys that were getting at the end of the first, a Desmond Bain, a Gigi, Vince, Santi. We're finding all these diamonds in the rough at a very affordable rate. We're going to talk about Zack Edey here in a minute. We look, all signs point to we hit at number 9, like big time, but we're hitting like mid-second round, early second round, Cam Spencer, Jaylen Wells, like these guys are turning into ball players. And like you said, man, if like, with our core 3, our big 3 needing to get paid and taken care of, having these extra pieces on friendly deals just shows that the Chef Kleiman is cooking and knows it. And so like all these people on Twitter talking about Kleiman needs to go, he can't take us to a championship, all this kind of stuff. Like, you're clearly new to this. Like, take a lap, drink a Capri Sun, whatever you need to do, because like just 8 years ago when Chris Wallace was running this team, good God, y'all would have never survived. Never survived.
This show was not one of the shows that was overreacting to the lack of a move. We weren't your show if you wanted to
transaction porn where you had to have a move.
Yeah, where you just had to have a move just to make a move. You wanted everything, and we're happy as long as you made a move. That wasn't us. And so I thought we should take a victory lap as well, because what you're seeing now is this is a team that works well together. I think that Tomas, whatever his last name is, that the new lead assistant coach with the new offense, I think it looks great. And don't look now, but they figured out how to make an entry pass to a 7'5" big man.
Let's go. What a transition, man. Like, yes, because we talked about that this summer. Like, only thing they need to work on is post-entry passes. And they figured it out. Not only they figured it out, but the other night against the
that was
the Hornets.
The
I'm thinking of, it was the Bulls when Edey catches the pass in the post, passes back out to Jaylen Wells. He buries that elbow 3. Like, we're figuring out post-entry passes and touch passes back out. Y'all watch out. Like, the days of us being last in the association in half-court offense is over. Like, hammer, nail, coffin. It is over, baby. The Grizzlies have a half-court offense, and his name is Zack Edey. Uncle Buck, there's been so much stuff coming out.
it was actually the Pacers. It was
That's right.
He was 10 of 15 for 23 points, and he was 3 or 4 from the free throw line. He also had 9 rebounds, including 3 of them on the offensive side of the court.
Listen to this. Zack Edey's last 3 games, Jaren Jackson Jr. would never understand this stat line when he was a rookie. And I love Tripp. I do. But in his last 3 games, he's had 63 minutes. This is Zack Edey. He scored 48 points, had 22 rebounds, blocked 4 shots, and has exactly 1 foul. After 5 fouls in the first summer league game to 1 foul in 3 games, like Drew, like Zach, like I really think us included, because we were out on Zack Edey. If you go back and watch some of our Edey shows, we were out on draft night. I think we all just overthought it. Like, his feet move really well. He's not getting lost in space. He's finding his way in the paint, making quality attempts to block shots. The stocks look really good. He's not turning the ball over a lot. My one critique, and I said this on Twitter, like, he catches the ball and his instinct is he brings it to his waist. Bro, you're 7 foot forever. You catch it here, you keep it here and go back up. Like, if that's my one critique, we're in tall cotton. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It is preseason, and the preseason, like what he did to Miles Turner is legit. I mean, he's led the league in blocks a couple different seasons. Like that's something that you can really look at and be like, all right. But I've never worried about how he was going to hold up against other bigs. I'll worry about what he looks like when he gets targeted on offense. And I don't feel like you're seeing that a whole lot right now. And we're also not playing teams that's got real dominant guard play in the preseason yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are still questions there, and they're questions that you cannot answer until you actually see them and you just see how it holds up against, like, when you've got, I'm fascinated, this first Spurs game, you got Chris Paul running a pick and roll with Wemby. Like, what does the Edey look in this situation? Like, that's fascinating to me. And that's where I think he struggles the most. Now, given what we've seen, though, like, it's the best that you could possibly expect because he is finishing with hook shots that are unguardable. Like, that's the thing that's so fun to me, is that you've got a breaking case of emergency option. And it's the first one that we've had since Zach Randolph. You know, Tony Allen used to say on the Chris Vernon show, it's like turn 4. Like, if all else fails, turn 4. And that's just feed Zebo on the block. That's what we've got in Edey once he develops. I mean, he's going to take some time. You know, he can be rookie of the year this year, run away with it, and still not be like great.
Yeah.
But if he gets to be really good / great, I mean, you're talking about Yao Ming.
I mean, you're talking about a dominant force. I mean, this game was built on big men and built on centers. As much as guards are running it right now, that's what this game was built on. And like you've said numerous times, like when you play teams, like you had to scheme for the Grizzlies. You had to scheme for a triple option in college football. And if we can slow you down on the half court and feed Edey, like you have to scheme for that. Everybody saw it the other way, like, oh, Memphis is not going to be able to keep up. You know what? Screw you. You have to keep up with us. You have to scheme for us. And what I've seen from Zack Edey, yes, like there's going to be some moments where he's going to get caught on pick and rolls. But the reason I'm a little less worried about that is one, Jaren Jackson Jr., because just 4 years ago, when he was the DPOY, we had an anchor in the middle. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Wow. It really, When he was the DPOY, we had an anchor in the middle in Steven Adams. And we didn't expect Steven to get out and move around. So I think if we can get back to a very similar defense where Jaren's almost like a free safety, where Edey anchors the middle, Jaren is your guy free floating in space, then you don't have to worry about Edey getting caught on a guard, because the guy more likely to get caught on a guard is Jaren. And Jaren has proven that he can hang with Luka and he can hang with some of these guys in spots where he's needed. And so if we can scheme, and again, there's going to be moments for sure, and we'll see how good Edey's footwork is. But again, by and large, because of one Jaren Jackson Jr., I think that's going to make Edey even better of a defender, that he can do what he does best, and that's guard the paint.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, because Jaren does best as a roamer. He going up and swatting them off the backboard as the help defender. And if Edey is in a pick and roll, you can't ask for a better help defender except for maybe Giannis. I mean, if you're being honest, like that's the same thing Giannis does. He works so well with Brook Lopez on defense because Brook Lopez is the one that they target. You don't target Jaren Jackson Jr. in a pick and roll. You don't target Giannis in a pick and roll. But you got to know that if you target Edey, Jaren is back there.
He's somewhere.
And then you're forcing teams, and which it seems like the NBA is okay with right now. You're forcing teams to beat you with a 3-point shot. And so if a team makes 40% of 45 to 50 3-point shots, you're going to lose anyways.
It's their night. And we've seen that. And Bill Walton's right. Like the teams that shoot and make threes are the teams that win. And sometimes teams are just going to get hot. There's not much you can do about that. But again, like slowing teams down into a half court is going to be something that they have to account for. Now, it's not going to be sexy, right? Like we were not national TV broadcast material when we had the core four. We get them in the mud in the half court and feed Zebo. But we won a ton of basketball games, including going to a Western Conference Finals and a Zebo suspension away from another Western Conference Finals the year that he got that Steven Adams got him suspended. And so I think we're going to harken back to some of those days. It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be the fun up and down the court. It will be because we run with some of the better teams. But I think what we're going to do is be able to slow the game down with Edey and win in the half court like we have never been able to since the days of Mark and Zach, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, man. That October 23rd game against Utah is going to be must-see TV. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen with him, how he's going to develop, and then how the young toys are going to develop too. So you're going to get a chance if you're Jaylen Wells, if you're Zack Edey, you're going to get a shot now. I mean, we're going to see what you're made out of. You're going to get thrown in the fire a little bit.
That's kind of a good transition to, we got Luke's dealing with injury, right? We've talked about a little bit who are going to be the first three guys, but I think you've got options here that are going to take those Luke minutes. Like, obviously, I think the first person that's going to benefit from that is Jaylen Wells. And Jaylen Wells, all he's done is had a whale of a preseason because we have two Grizzlies in the top 10 for rookie scoring, one Zack Edey and one Jaylen Wells. I mean, Jaylen Wells is having game after game where, yes, he's having some struggles with accuracy, but it's adjusting to the NBA.
Right.
His efficiency is not great yet. But what I like more so than what I ever saw out of Zaire is just confidence and swagger that my shot's going to fall. And if it's not, that's fine. I'll facilitate. I'll play defense. Like it's not with Zaire, when you could see his shot was not falling, he checked out. I was like, I'm done. Like, y'all might as well go ahead and take me out. But with Jaylen, the shots keep going up. The ball doesn't stop with him. And again, he can defend at a high level. I liked a lot of what I've seen out of Jaylen Wells. So we know he's going to get those minutes. Who else do you think is going to benefit from that?
Well, real quick, I think that mindset of Jaylen Wells, if you're contrasting that to Zaire Williams, I think that's because Jaylen Wells is just an older basketball player. He went to Sonoma State. He went to Washington State. He was not recruited. You've got to get in where you fit in when you make your way up and you play as long as Jaylen Wells has. That's a lesson you learn that Zaire Williams never quite figured out. I think it's interesting, in the first preseason game, the first person off the bench was Edey. Like, I think that you're probably going to go Jaylen Wells before you go Edey now, or because of just the youth and what you've got invested in him. So I look at him. LaRavia is going to get a chance. Like I've kind of beaten the drum kind of sarcastically just to drive Rusty crazy. But I do believe that there's more there than what Rusty thinks there is. He's got a good looking shot. He's big and he's just in the mix. Like I say, like he's a better than average defender. He's got the tools there. And again, when I make the argument for Jake LaRavia, I'm never going to make the argument that he should start. I'm just saying, when you're getting to like this 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th guys on the team, and if you go look at any competitive basketball team, their 9th, 10th, 11th guys are not as good as Jake LaRavia. And I think given the injuries to Vince and Gigi and Luke now, like he's going to get a shot. Like the bench just got shorter. So he's going to get plenty of run here. And early on, I really want to see him do something because it is put up or shut up time for LaRavia. He missed the first part of last year for injuries. He missed basically his whole rookie year for injuries. And so I look for him to stay healthy and to kind of show that he's got what they thought he had, at least enough to have a role on this team.
I agree to an extent. I've seen some flashes offensively, though he's terribly inefficient. I don't know about the defense. Like, his feet move so slow. Like, it's like he's got ankle weights on, man. And like,
it's
again,
true. That's
we're
fine,
arguing.
But I trust Marcus Smart's opinion, and he's all on the Jake LaRavia defender.
Sure, like I don't know that he's gonna get up there and say otherwise though in an interview, but
they didn't ask about Jake LaRavia. They asked who could be the next perimeter defender, lockdown perimeter defender, and he could have picked anybody on that team, and he picked Jake LaRavia.
Fine, let me see it. But like, because what I've seen even so far in the preseason is anything but lockdown defender. He gets blown by, he gets caught out of position, he crosses his feet too much, like he's clumsy on defense. I don't see it, man. Like I again, like I'm not bashing the guy. I would benefit. I would benefit if he was good. Like it would serve me well. I just don't see it. And I haven't seen it yet. I don't see him making a turn. I don't know, man. Maybe, he'll end up like Roddy and kind of a journeyman again, going different places. I didn't even know David Roddy played basketball for the Hawks now. I didn't know that until I saw it on Twitter the other day. Yeah. Anthony Sane actually tweeted out a little clip of him playing for the Hawks, and I had no idea he played for the Hawks. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't see it, man. I think when Vince and Gigi come back, I don't see anywhere where LaRavia is getting minutes over Vince, Gigi, and Jaylen. Like, no, I don't see it.
I don't think so either, and I'm not stumping for that. I just think he's, as a 10th, 11th dude on the bench, like, I think he's got some value there in a pinch.
I would rather play like Gigi, Vince, Jaylen, Santi, like probably in that order over him. So, hey, listen, Charlotte, Knicks, Heat, Trailblazers, if you're listening to this, give us a call. We think Jake LaRavia is a great NBA player.
I'm going to tell you this. If the Heat want him, we're keeping him.
That's fair. That's probably fair. That's probably fair. That's the one phone call that would make me go, if they want to trade for Jake LaRavia, we might hang on to him.
Yeah, so that's my thoughts on the rotation. It's going to be shorter. You're going to see some guys that you probably won't see in a month get as many minutes like Jake LaRavia and probably like Jaylen Wells. But for the first couple weeks at least, you're going to get a lot of those, and I'm curious to see what they do.
Hey, speaking of, we've got another two-way deal open. We talked about Scotty. We kind of led with that at the beginning. We've got Scottie Pippen Jr. now on a 4-year deal. Congrats again to Pip. We've been champions for Pip this entire time.
No, not we. Just me.
We have.
Just
Let's
me.
go back. Roll the tape.
Me.
I've been a champion for him, but signing him in 2025. I've never said that
you wanted to keep him. You cannot say that I'm a fan and also want to keep you on the back burner just in case we find somebody better. And he was your handcuff.
Spoiler alert. We looked for better. We tried to get Tyus back. Like, the Grizzlies did what I thought they were going to do and try to find a better backup point guard, and they settled on Scottie Pippen Jr. Go roll the tape. Never one time did I ever say we don't need to sign Scotty. I always said we need to sign Scotty, but later. Yeah. And I'm sorry, like, you can, like, two things can be true. I could be a fan of Scottie Pippen Jr. and I could be a fan of fiscal responsibility.
I'm telling you, if Scottie Pippen listened to our podcast, he would not be a fan of you.
That's fine. I don't care about his feelings. It's a business. It's a business. I don't care about your feelings.
What's up, Scotty?
Hey, Pitt, man, if you get bent out of shape, some goofy-looking white dude in East Memphis talking bad about you, then I don't want you on my basketball team anyway. Get out of here. But I digress. Rolling back. So we got a two-way contract open. And we got a couple of guys that are kind of playing for it. We've got Jay Huff and we got Cam Spencer that are signed to two-way deals. Mm-hmm. Now with Scottie Pippen coming on the full-time roster, that opens one more. And we all know the Grizzlies love their two-way deals. So we're going to sign somebody. And we've got a couple good candidates in Yuta and Pereira. I'm not going to try.
No, Yuki.
I just said Yuta. Yuki.
Not Yuta. Yeah.
Yuta was the Temu version. Hey, shout out Wayno. He said that Yuta is the Temu version of Yuki.
He's the 6'10" version.
That's it. I saw something the other day on Twitter. It said somebody rubbed a lamp and a genie popped out. I was like, you have 3 wishes. And what's your first wish? He said that Yuki was 6'8".
Yeah, for real. Yeah. I don't know what they do with that. I know DeMichael Cole put out a tweet that said that they're going to make a decision by the end of the week. So this show comes out Friday when you're listening to this. A decision may have been made by this point. But if you want my take on it, I love Yuki. I do. I want him. I covet him just for the excitement that it brings to the G League, for just the social media fun that we're going to have with it. And he's just a ball player, man. And you just don't see it. It's a perfect avenue for him to go play competitive basketball, get paid a lot of money. The fans want to see it. Like I love it. And he's a highlight reel when he gets out there. It's like 5'8" Steve Nash. Like it's beautiful. Yeah. Like his eyes, the way he sees cutters, it seems like this system is perfect for him, this new system. And I think it goes back to international ball. Like these guys play a lot of international ball, and international ball is a lot different than NBA ball, where there's a lot of free motion. There's a lot of cutting, a lot of screening, and not as much ISO ball. Yuki would be a not good NBA player if he was just getting up and starting the offense and passing to the wing and screening down. Like that's not Yuki. It needs to be open, and I think it fits him well. And man, I'm going to call it now. He's going to get in a game in a lopsided Grizzlies win. He's going to get in, and he's going to go like 3 for 3 from 3, and the arena's going to erupt.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I like Pereira. He's playing good basketball, but like Yuki's the one, man, because it brings that international draw. Like Yuta is massive in Japan. So the Grizzlies became massive in Japan. Yuki fits this offense, like you said. It's going to be good for our developmental guys like a Jay Huff, like a Cam Spencer, some of these guys that could see time in Memphis to be playing with a point guard. Don't hear what I'm not saying. That's similar to John Morant in a way that they just free flow with the basketball. Like just because he drives to the free throw line or the circle doesn't mean he's going to hit a layup. You have to be ready because we've seen Yuki already drive deep and find Desmond Bane or kick it to LaRavia or bounce past to BC for a layup, or that pass to Edey the other night where he faked to Dez at the wing and found Edey cutting under on the baseline was just a thing of beauty. And I think Yuki makes the most sense for that role because Jason March isn't there anymore. He's on the bench, but like the new look hustle is going to be mirroring our offense in Memphis. And you get a point guard that can facilitate that. It's only going to make everybody a rising tide lifts all ships. Yuki feels like he fits in that role.
I just want to go to the Landers Center and watch Yuki. I mean,
that's get a jersey.
If they have a Yuki jersey giveaway, like we're there, man.
Absolutely. We'll do a live $2 Sports show from the Landers Center to stand for Yuki. That's what we'll do. So yeah, man, I think we got a lot to look forward to with the Grizzlies. You know, as y'all watch tonight, we get a good look in our final preseason game against a good Miami Heat team. This will be a good test because this will be Bam is one of the best defenders, one of the best centers in the league. This will be a great opportunity for Edey to flex again on a true NBA center. You know, we've talked about it here on the show even today. Heat culture, and I hate that term, but player development is a real thing. So it's kind of a good measuring tool for us to see where we're at. It's a good last test before we play Utah next week on opening night on Wednesday. You know, maybe we'll get a Ja and Jaren sighting for a few minutes to kind of work out some bugs for them to get some of their soreness out. Again, we're recording this Thursday, so we don't know what the injury report looks like for Friday just yet, but who knows? For me, the biggest thing I need to see tonight is I want to see how Jaylen Wells is going to take command of that Luke Kennard role and be that guy coming off the bench to be your shooter. And I want to see what Edey can do against Bam. It's been fun. Miles Turner is a great NBA center, and Edey had a day against him. He's played against Walker Kessler. He's played against some solid NBA centers, but Bam is different. And if Edey goes out and he has another night where he has 15 and 10 or even 12, 10 and 5 blocks, like that's a win for me and something I need to see in his development.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. And it's the last preseason game. So it's kind of weird. I don't know who all you see for Miami. Every team kind of goes about this differently. You know, if this is the NFL, you're not going to see any starters. And so I don't know how Miami is going to do it. I don't know their track record in the preseason of how they play their starters or not. So it's going to be kind of hit and miss. I do hope that you get to see Bam Adebayo play up against Zack Edey. I do want to see Jimmy Butler and I want to see Ja. I mean, I want to see Ja and Jaren. If you want me to sleep well at night, let them run for like 12 to 15 minutes, get their blood going, and show everybody like, they're good. You know, and it's a nationally televised game. It's on NBA TV, so you don't have to deal with that stupid Bally app.
Oh my gosh, should have been my beef of the week.
Yeah. And so watch it on NBA TV, 7 o'clock Central on Friday night tonight as you're listening to this. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah,
I'm
me too, man.
I'm gonna dial in.
Yeah, Grizzlies are back. I'm gonna be locked in. We're gonna watch them play. And listen, this is the last one that doesn't really count. You know, it's fun to win in the preseason. I'd love to go 4-1, like finish out the preseason on a high note, beat the brakes off the Heat, carry some momentum into the Jazz game. But that's when it gets real. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. on 10/23. It's when it actually gets real, and that'll be before we get to record again. So, like, opening night expectations for me is I want to see everybody look healthy. I like what I've seen from Desmond Bane so far. He is in like midseason shape. He's running the floor. He's cutting. Like, Dez is on a revenge tour. We hadn't talked about this yet. We talked about it a bit on the Daily Grind, but the NBA top 100 list got dropped this week, and they were not kind to some Memphis Grizzlies. And again, recency bias, call it whatever you want. But Ja Morant ranked 20th. Desmond Bane, was 20th. Desmond ranked 60. Jaren was 53rd. Marcus was like 83 or 86.
Oh.
But like there was some that just don't make a ton of sense to me. Obviously, there was some big name bias. Kawhi Leonard was number 15. And like when Kawhi's healthy, he's absolutely a top 20, top 15 player. But he's only going to play like 16, 17 games a year. Like he ain't going to play much. But having RJ Barrett ranked ahead of both Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a war crime. Stupid. Like that's stupid, man. That's such a bad take. And they asked Dez about it. And, you know, I know your take on this, but I want you to tell our fans here in a second. But like, they asked Dez about it, and Dez said, "Jokes, man. It's all jokes. It's all it is jokes." And so he clearly sees it, and that's fuel for the fodder.
Yeah, take it personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like you, man. Like you're famous for saying, like, don't rank us. Like, don't even put any of us on the list.
I don't want it. You know, nobody believed in us 2 or 3 years ago, and we were the number 2 seed again. And then everybody kind of started believing in us, and it kind of went to trash. Everybody started hating us. Right now we're just not good as front runners. We haven't been yet. And so by all means, kick us. Yeah. Kick us while we're down. Don't believe in us. Rank our players in the bottom 25 in the league. Every one of them. I don't care. I'd actually rather you do it, because if there's one thing that Ja Morant does well, it's to hold a grudge. Yeah. And you know Desmond Bane can hold a grudge because poor old not Jalen Green. What's the Green from Dallas that got picked right before him?
Oh yeah.
He kills Dallas because they didn't take him. Josh Green. They took Josh Green. Yeah. And Josh Green, who I'm sure Desmond Bane has never met in his life, is like public enemy number 1. So like, I love our petty bunch of Grizzlies here. Yeah. And so give us a reason to be petty. Rank us, predict us to win 20 games. Everybody sucks. The Grizzlies suck. The Memphis, they should move. Say all of it. Yeah. Please. This week's your time to shine. Give me your hottest take.
And we've added another one to that mix because Zack Edey keeps receipts, man. Like he was famous for it in the Final Four and the Elite Eight, talking about, you know, they don't know us. We're winners. Like,
yeah.
Whew, I'm here for it, man. We just added another one who's 7'4". And remember, we talked about this on the show. In the Summer League, he was ready to go to fisticuffs for Jake LaRavia. I can't wait to see what he's ready to do for Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, man. Like, he just adds to that swagger that this team has. Not that we need help with swagger, but he adds to it. I'm freaking here for it, man. All right. So, any other takes? Anything else you want to talk about with the Grizz?
Not particularly. We're just kind of, it's the dawn before a new day. And this is when everybody gets excited. And I'm one of everybody at this point. So excited. I will say we're kind of changing up the format a little bit. We're keeping these shows a little
I was just about
shorter.
to get into that. Nice job.
So we're keeping these shows a little shorter. Check out Bluff City Media. We're not covering college football in the $2 Sports Show today on this Friday episode. However, get on Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Tune into us. We're going to start putting our college football, our pro football, our fantasy, stuff like that in smaller bite-sized pieces and videos. We're going to call Bucks 2 cents. And so sometimes you're going to get me and Rusty. Sometimes you're going to get me or Rusty. We're just going to talk about our college football thoughts, and we're going to do that in bite-sized segments to try to keep this show a little more compact, more easily digestible for all you guys. And so Bluff City Media on YouTube. get on Bluff City Media on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you get your podcast, and just tune into all of our social media pages. We'll link it there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So be on the lookout for some of that. Bucks 2 cents is growing. It's been a couple episodes so far. A lot of good content coming with college football. Thanks for hanging out with us for 51 minutes. This is a record for us. We were actually pretty short-winded for me and Uncle Buck. If you know anything about us, you know that this is probably the hardest thing we've done all week is keep this show short.
We're scratching because we're like, I want to keep talking.
There's so much more, but we're going to end it because there are no refunds for what you hear on the $2 Sports Show.
That's right. Because with the $2, you always get what you pay for. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.